Good afternoon. We are live. This is show 52. I've been doing this a whole year, and this song hasn't come up yet. I'm going to stop there because I've got an amazing guest today for you. She's in the green room. Shall we bring her in? Liz Dalby, how are you?
Hi, Ashley. Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. The first question I always ask everybody is, why did you choose that song?
Right. Well, I was at university in Cardiff when that song came out. And I suppose the first reason is it just reminds me of happy evenings, dancing in the student union with my friends. But also being a lover of words, I like a song that tells a story. And I think that song tells quite an interesting story, and it's still relevant today. It's quite euphoric, but it's also quite angry, talking about inequality. And for me, it's got everything that a song should have. So
fantastic, except a decent melody for an acoustic guitar. That's the trouble with that song. It tends to drag on a little bit. There's a lot of bass going on. There's a lot of drums going on in the original. It's a great track. I love Pulp, and that is an amazing album. So what a great song to pick today. Liz, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm a freelance editor. So I started off in book publishing, but now I work on all sorts of things for businesses, academics, individuals who want their self-published projects edited. I've been working for myself for the last 14 years, and I've been an editor for 24 years. So yeah, quite a long time.
So you know a little bit about editing and stuff like that.
Yes.
We've got our friend John. Hey, have you met John?
Oh yes, I know John from quite a way back. Yes.
All right. I met him for the first time last week. What an absolutely super guy. You look so different with that cool hair. How did you look, Liz?
It used to be blonde, and then it went a bit grey. So yeah, the red is quite new.
No, it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Thanks, well, I totally agree, John, but it goes really well with all of your background and stuff like that. So, and Richard's on today. Hi, Richard. How are you? Love words that tell a story. What else are words for? Eh, Liz? Absolutely. And this is the thing, isn't it? Talking of words, you're on LinkedIn. You're also part of John's Espresso Plus group.
That's
so,
right.
Tell us why you love LinkedIn, Liz.
Well, I've been on LinkedIn for quite a long time, since 2010. I suppose initially I loved it because it was just a place to put an online CV. And it's only relatively recently that I've started sort of using it in a more interactive way. And I love the conversations you can have on there. They're not necessarily related to work, but, it sort of comes back to work in the end because it's all connected. But it's just a great place to meet sort of like-minded people and people you might not otherwise come across.
We wouldn't be sat here today if it wasn't for LinkedIn, would we, Liz?
No, exactly.
And that's the beauty. And I think there's a lot of people out there still think it's an online CV, and they're not doing what we do, what John does, or what Richard does. It's that sort of thing. It's making those conversations. So do you use other social media regularly?
I did used to love Twitter, not so much anymore. I mainly share pictures on Twitter, which I know is not really what it's for. I should be on Instagram. I'm on Instagram a little bit and Facebook a little bit, but yeah, not so much as I used to.
And why did you love Twitter?
It's a little bit like the LinkedIn thing. I mean, you're sort of sharing tiny snippets of information, but they often lead to interesting, larger bits of information that you might not otherwise have found. Yeah, you just come across stuff on there that you might not find another way.
Okay. Here's a question.
Okay.
And it's not on the script. When you read posts on LinkedIn, yeah, do you look at it and go, "Oh my goodness, they need an editor," or do you, or because I'm a chef. This is why I've asked the question. I'm a chef. Okay, and a lot of people ask me, when you go for a meal, are you critical and stuff like that? And for me, I'm just happy that someone else has cooked the food.
Sure.
So back at you, Liz. What do you, when you see someone's post? I'm scared now when you look at my post. That's why you've never commented on it, because you didn't want to hurt my feelings, did you?
No, I absolutely don't. I wouldn't do that. I mean, I think you've got to know when to turn it off, and you've got to sort of put aside your judgment. And I think on social media, everyone accepts that it's a much more sort of informal medium, and you wouldn't make yourself popular if you go around just pointing out, what you think of people's mistakes, and you wouldn't enjoy it as much either.
No, perfect. And that's exactly how I am with my food.
Yeah,
I don't sort of like go somewhere. The worst thing is someone invites you around. Oh, I hate cooking for chefs. Oh, and I'm like, no, I love your home cooking. I've got a very dear friend, Maggie. She's an amazing cook, and whenever we go there, she always tries something different, and it's always amazing. But every time, she's like, oh, I hate it when you come. And I can see where you're coming from. So, how often do you post your own content then, Liz?
I suppose I'm aiming for a couple of times a week, 2 or 3 times a week. But I confess that if I'm particularly busy, that does fall by the wayside a bit. But I'm also doing a monthly newsletter now, which was in fact John's suggestion. So I'm trying to stick to that. So yeah, I'd say several times a week.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. So how much time do you spend on LinkedIn? Be honest.
Well, you'll like this one, actually. About 15 minutes a day.
Oh! And you've not been on my workshop, so that's brilliant.
No.
You're getting this from osmosis, aren't you?
Absolutely. Well, it's quite a sensible amount of time when you've got like loads of other things to do. And sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But yeah, on average, 15 minutes.
Awesome. I don't know if you've done the maths. Did you know that just doing 5 days a week of 50 minutes a day is 65 hours a year?
Wow.
That's 65 hours of free marketing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But we never think of the compound. We always think of it's only 15 minutes. But so yeah, I won't tell you that story. That's not for this show. Richard said it's a good question because he's worried about the punctuation. Please, are already ready to pounce. One missing apostrophe, and that's the thing, Richard. I totally agree. I was like, oh my goodness. So I use something called Grammarly. You didn't?
Yeah, I use Grammarly too sometimes. Yes.
Well, if it's good enough for Liz Dalby, it's good enough for me. But the thing I use it for, obviously the spelling and the grammar, because I didn't do very well at English at school. But the thing I use it more for is the tone, Liz. Have you found that with the AI that it's got built in?
Yeah, that can be quite helpful, can't it? It gives you the little smiley face or the kind of grumpy face.
I go for there's a little hug, and it's like that. And so if I get that, I know I've got a nice, friendly sort of.
Yeah, I think that comes across in your posts actually. So that's useful.
Yeah, thank you. That's what I aim to do with. I want people to read my stuff and feel good. I don't want to polarize people. I don't want to create an argument and stuff like that. So
well, I think I would say actually in response to that, I mean, people tend to think of editors as being like the grammar police or the punctuation police, but that's really not at all what we're about. It's not about correcting people. It's about helping people to sort of express what they want to say, and just say it a little bit better or a bit clearer. So we're not trying to tell you off.
No, absolutely. Same with me in my LinkedIn training, Liz. When I turn around to people, I say, "Oh, you need to do this on your profile." I'm not telling them off. I'm just helping them.
Exactly.
The most experienced editors are often the least judgy about others writing. It's the newer editors that tend to be a bit more eager. Yeah, that's a good point, John. John's really good at this sort of stuff as well, isn't he? With what he does and shares his thoughts on that. So no, that's brilliant. Thanks, John. Okay. Right, here we go. Do you get business as a result of what you do on LinkedIn, Liz?
Yes, I would say that I do. It's not always direct, but definitely it puts me out there. It sort of gets me in the minds of clients, also colleagues who might refer me. And I have applied for jobs on LinkedIn and got them, and also, had sort of proper job interviews, but I'm not really in the market for that at the moment. But
no, it's nice being your own boss, isn't it?
It is. I don't think I could go back.
I'm unemployable now, Liz. So tell us a little bit about what you do then, and how all of that works for, so I've come from a different planet and I really don't know what editing is. Going to explain it to me in layman's terms, please, Liz, what you actually do.
Okay. I mean, I suppose most straightforwardly, somebody sends me a piece of text that they want to publish, they want to put out into the world, and I will make sure that it's ready to go out there, so that it won't embarrass them, and so that it reflects what they're trying to say and how they're trying to present themselves. And that's it, whether it's a press release or a novel or
Okay, so do you charge by the word? Do you charge by the job? How do you make your money?
Well, it varies actually. Usually, I prefer to charge by the project, but I have some clients where I work for an hourly rate. So yeah.
So you might be working with somebody that does a weekly blog or a monthly newsletter, maybe. So you'd look at that newsletter and you go, well, actually, this point would be better at the top, and I wouldn't, that you've got too many words in that sentence and stuff like that. That's the sort of thing you do, or do you just here it is, and then give it back finished? How does that work?
I suppose usually what I do is I'll try and give them back the finished document ready to go, but they'll be able to see the changes that I've made. Because the most important thing is it's not about what I want them to say, it's about what they want to say. So they've got to be happy with it. It's sort of like, trying to say what they were originally saying, but slightly more clearly, slightly better.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So Richard just said, editing for meaning and emotion, the head and the heart is certainly the thing, although some editors are also proofreaders.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do proofreading too as well. It's really about kind of listening to what the text is saying. It's sort of like you're listening to a person talking, and you're just trying to get what it is, and then kind of let that out.
And turning it into a story as well, I suppose.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, sometimes you get something that really isn't. Yeah, it needs a lot more work. It needs kind of taking apart, putting back together, turning into a story. Yeah, so that the reader won't stop reading. I mean, that's really the bottom line, I suppose.
Yeah. And is there anything that you really love doing? So if I turn around and say, "Oh, I've got this," and you go, "Oh, yeah, I'd love to do that," what would that be?
Ooh. I'd like to say I love all of it, actually. I mean, it's all a little bit different. Like, I love working on books about architecture because that was what my degree was in, and that's what I was interested in, and then I kind of moved out of that. But I'll work on any subject. I love finding out more about anything people will throw at me, really. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So I can see Richard and John are putting in some comments and stuff. So John is a LinkedIn expert, so he'd ask you to look at his LinkedIn book, and Richard's a video presenting type of expert, so his book would be about video presenting. But if you had those two come to you and an architectural book, you'd turn around to the other two and say, "Look, I've got this project on at the moment. You'll have to wait." Is that how that would work?
Well, usually I tend to say yes to far too many things. But I'm always.
Don't we all?
Because if something great comes along, I've got a terrible tendency to say yes. I've got better at saying no, but
it's hard, isn't it? It's hard.
I feel fortunate to be in that position to be able to say that. But
yeah, we were chatting about that the other day when we were chatting with John. Mutual friend Gerard used to say that proofreading was like editing while in a broom cupboard.
Yeah, I try not to do too much editing in broom cupboards, but
Yeah, it's a good, that's a good analogy. And that, so when you're editing, right?
Mm.
Do you have to go in a quiet place and really get into it, or do you sit by the beach and have loud music on, or how? What's
No, I
the best
can't
way
do it listening to music. Definitely not, because then the
No.
lyrics will come in and I'll be kind of typing them out in what I'm working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need kind of peace and quiet.
Get right into that zone.
Yeah, I couldn't do it on the beach, unfortunately.
So you're editing this book on architecture. All right, I'm already falling asleep. Sorry. but how long would a book take to edit? That's a huge body of work, isn't it, Liz?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's difficult to put a precise figure on it, but I suppose kind of, and if it's a really long book, that could be several weeks' work. But then I'd probably be doing that alongside other things. So
right, okay.
And that keeps you from getting bored, because I mean, in all honesty, I do edit some things that I would not choose to read otherwise. But if you kind of, splice them together, then yeah.
So you could be working on some social media posts. You could be working on a different website for a different company, and then an architectural book, and then maybe a book on LinkedIn or something.
Yeah, exactly. Break it up into chunks.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was just sort of like thinking you were locked in this broom cupboard,
No.
reading architecture after architecture after architecture. So you cover absolutely everything, and you work with large companies, small companies. Who's your typical client?
Well, I started off mainly working with publishers, but now I would say as publishers just part of the time. I work with institutions like universities and sort of international organizations, also individual academics. Yeah, so a whole range of people, right down from individuals to big companies. And again, that makes it quite interesting.
So would you edit my newsletter for me, or is that
yeah, I'd certainly be. Yeah, I do that type of thing for people. So yeah.
And would you be able to turn around and say, look, if you're going to do a newsletter, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that? Because I wouldn't want to get you to do every single one, especially when I'm putting it out weekly.
Yeah, I could certainly give you sort of, I mean, that's what I'd call development editing, I suppose.
Yeah, perfect.
And yeah, I do that, and I kind of advise people on those types of things.
Yeah, because I think when you get some newsletters through, oh my goodness, that's awful. And then you get others through, and you look forward to reading them because they're always good bits of information and stuff like that. So that's where I would like to be. So maybe you and I need to have a chat.
Yeah, definitely.
So how many hours a week do you reckon you actually work on your business, and do you get time for other stuff?
Actual proofreading and editing, that's about 25 hours.
Okay.
And then the rest of the time is just kind of marketing, admin, that sort of thing.
Silly interviews with people on
Yeah. I describe myself as working full time, but in terms of hours, it's probably not actually quite full time. So
no, that's good. That's good. And do you work all over the shop, or do you sort of like have your core hours?
I've got core hours when the kids go out to school,
yeah,
and then I've got like nice quiet time, and then I sometimes have to make a bit of time up in on the weekend. But yeah, they're my core hours, sort of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And do you have any challenges at the moment within your business?
I think I touched on it, actually. The main challenge is, and it's always been the challenge, just trying to get exactly the right amount of work so that I've got enough to do, but not crazy amounts to do. And I think I start to think I've got good at that, and then I realise I haven't.
And then someone just brings in another architectural book, and oh my goodness, this is my favourite. I've got to do this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just managing time, really. But I've got better at it.
And this is the thing, right? You've got, because it's our own business, we're sort of like, oh, I'll do this and that, I'll do that, and what have you. You want to be busy, but it's being the right kind of busy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And understanding how that works for you. John's just come up with a great idea. I like that, John. I like that. That's a poll for tomorrow.
Well, that's a bit scary, though.
Isn't it? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But I'll tell you what, if I did do top 10 worst newsletters, they'd all get read because everyone would want to go and have a look and see why they're the worst ones, wouldn't they? So when you're not working, when you're not on LinkedIn, what is it you get up to, Liz?
Well, apart from hanging out with the kids, I like yoga and running.
Oh, well done.
Not
in this heat, hey?
Not in this heat, no. Someone ran past me yesterday and I wanted to tell them to stop.
Yeah, you're making me feel guilty.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of gardening, bit of cooking.
Fantastic.
Reading, unbelievably. I still find
really. Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's the last thing I want to do when I get home, when I was a chef, is cook.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So, oh, that's fantastic. In fact, that's a lie. I used to enjoy cooking. I do enjoy cooking, and it's totally different when you're at home and you're not cooking for like 100 people, and all that sort of stuff. I've got one more question for you. Okay. Thank you so much for being here today. And thanks to all the lovely comments and that from Richard and Richard's got another one here, and John. Feast of Famine, the curse of small business in my experience, doing and you ain't selling, selling you ain't billing. Yeah, absolutely, Richard. We've had this conversation numerous times, haven't we? If we're not on LinkedIn, that's the thing. Right. So I just need to just let everybody know who is here next week. I have got, he's here somewhere. Sandro Forte is coming on to have a chat with us. He's a finance wizard, but he's also a speaker and a podcast host, and he knows some really cool people. So I'm looking forward to having a chat with Sandro. So he'll be here next week. But your final question to today, Liz, how do I get that back? There we go. That's what I need. There she is. She's back. Liz, my final question to you is: what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Ooh. That's so hard. That's so hard because when I was 16, I had no idea I would end up doing this.
I don't think anybody did they?
No. Just
LinkedIn Trainer hadn't been invented when I was 16. In fact, the internet hadn't been invented when I was 16.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Don't worry so much, I suppose. Just things will happen as they're meant to happen.
I like that. That. Thank you. What a great way to end the show. Yeah, don't worry. It'll all be all right. that could have been the next song, couldn't it? 3 Little Birds by Bob Marley. Don't worry about a thing. Liz, thank you so much for being on my show. Thank you to everybody for your comments and watching. And we will be back next week, like I say, with Sandro. Same time, same place. And Liz, this is my 52nd show, so it's a whole year. So thank you very much for coming along. Cheerio. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.